Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition with host Tim Dennis.
Welcome, everybody. Rob there, Tim here, and real estate is what we're going to be talking about. Oh, boy. So much in the news this week in terms of interest rates and numbers and housing and all kinds of stuff. But right off the bat, I know that people that tune into the show, Rob, they want to know right off the bat, where are we right now? This is a time when prices are going up again, but are there houses to be found, Robert?
It is. There's an inventory problem out there with homes. But the one thing is, through the whole Niagara area and in all other areas, like including Hamilton and Niagara and unit sales are up. Now, we know last year there was a decline right from probably April, May, right down to December last year. Numbers were declining all the way through that whole 9-month period. Now, we're starting to see an upswing in unit sales versus year over year. And so that's happening. But in some areas, we're seeing an upclimb in average sale price year over year. But we're still down in other areas. So, for instance, in Fonthill Pelham, we're down 4% year over year. So last year in June in Fonthill Pelham, the average sale price was $875. We're down to $844,000. So not bad. We're slowly catching up. Now, Fort Erie down 16%. Fort Erie was an area that was always, I felt, was just booming too fast, too short of a time, because before the pandemic, they were a struggling city or town that would end up getting sales. It was tough to sell a house there. Then all of a sudden, the pandemic, everybody started moving out there, and then sales started happening, and they went up too fast, too strong. Grimsby is up 3% year over year. And then we got Lincoln up 4%. Niagara Falls is down 3%. So Niagara Falls last year in June, the average sale price was $650,000. This year in June, the average sale price is $630,000. Not too bad. Niagara-on-the-Lake is always an up and down area because they sell high-end homes, so lower. It brings the numbers thing. Now, these are benchmark prices. This is the benchmark price in every area. So those are pretty true numbers versus average sale price. Now, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, last year was $588,600. This year it's $605,000, so it's up 3%. Smithville's down 5%, but it's hard to gauge Smithville because not as many homes are selling. So last year we sold 12 homes in Smithville, and this year there was only 5 sold. So it's a hard indication to figure.
Is that because Smithville grew so darn fast? They were like townhouse complexes all over the place.
That was a sleeping community that some builders, they bought some land out there and they started developing and people started coming. I was shocked. It's like a 10-minute drive to the Queen Elizabeth Way in Smithville. And they had to dig up Park Road 2 or 3 times in a course of, I think, 15 or 20 years, to bring water lines up to Smithville from Grimsby. And literally, like Park Road was under construction. They go, oh, we got more people moving up there. We need more. We got to get more water up there. And that road was under construction, as far as I remember, at least 3 times in the last 15, 20 years. And just because how fast Smithville was growing. And I'm not sure if I'm going to change that number from Smithville, just keep it West Lincoln maybe, because it'll give it a bigger difference. But it's just a wide range. You got farmland in there. You got proper. It's all over. But I just kept it Smithville because it's a little small community. It's close. It's in Niagara, so I thought I'd just throw it in there. But the numbers are very small. St. Catharines, they're down 1% year over year. Last year was $625,000. This year it's $618,000. Thorold is up 7% year over year. $680,000 last year, and now they're at $730,000. And so Thorold looks like it's picked up some pace. And Welland is up 1%. $620,000 last year in June. This year it's $625,000. Things are moving along. So I found June sales overall this year, they were if you go year over year, they were good. Now, month over month, not as good, in my opinion. What the stats show. And I got a feeling that we're going to flatline throughout the summer with sale prices and actually sales, especially this coming week. They're going to announce another. I think they're going to announce another interest rate hike. People have got.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Yeah, and that's going to kind of slow things down a bit. Now, like I said before, the only people who are buying are the ones that have been pre-qualified now at this interest rate. They know what they can buy and everything else, and they're the ones that are buying. Now, again, people are not selling their houses if they don't have to. So, like those people that wanted to upgrade, they're not going to upgrade. They're going to stay where they are, and the people that want to downsize. Like people like the elderly that are looking to move to a retirement home, they're going to move. They're the ones that are moving, and that's the house that's going to be available for buyers to buy. Now, and we also have still a strong percentage of people that have their homes out there that are overpriced, that are expecting the big dollars, and they'll never get it. It's just the market is not going to warrant those numbers for those people. And so it's going to be a tough summer, but I do feel there's going to be a spike in the fall. But I really, really do feel there's going to be a really good spike in February, March next year. So if you're thinking about selling next year, do it February, March. And also get photographs done. We just did one in Niagara Falls on Joseph Street. There's a house that's going to go up for sale next year. And we've taken photographs, filmed everything on the outside. The house looks so gorgeous right now with all the flowers and everything else like that. So when this house goes up for sale February, March next year, guess what? We're able to show this house to the level that people would like to see how it looks in the summertime without having snow or it won't be gray. It's going to be nice and colorful and beautiful. So if you're looking at selling your house next year and you don't know when, just take pictures this year on the outside. Have a professional photographer call us. We'll come in and we'll photograph the house for you. We'll bank the pictures, and then when you're ready to sell, we'll take the inside pictures. So
you bring up a really good point. And I know that you've done this in shows past, talking about the trick right now. You're talking about it flatlining a little bit during the summer and et cetera, et cetera. But the trick right now is to price it right. Don't be unrealistic. Don't think like a year ago, 2 years ago, they were getting, $1 million for this house, even though the average price is now, $700,000. I'm going to put it up for $1 million because, damn it, that's what they got down the street. You got to be realistic, don't you?
You do. So I went on an evaluation just probably about 4 days ago, and this lady named Michelle, I went and saw her, and there was two houses. Now, she had a townhouse, and there was two houses on her street that sold, one for $830,000, another one for $840,000. Now, those two, so I know going into this evaluation, she was looking at that number. Now, I saw the square footages of those two other houses, and they were both about maybe 1,700 and 1,800 square feet. When I went to her house, she's only like a 1,350, maybe I don't even think she was 1,400 square feet. So we're talking about a 350 to 400 square feet difference in size of townhouse. And I said to her, listen, I know you're thinking, 850,000, somewhere between 8 and 850. I said, I'd love to give you that, but I'm going to tell you, you've got a smaller house here, and you will struggle getting that number. And I said to her, you're somewhere, 700 is the bang-on number. I said, if you put it at 700, you're either going to get that number or more. Now, you go at 750, you may have to drop the price eventually. Now, she was gung-ho on putting her house up for sale, and then after we talked, she was, let me think about it. And she actually talked to another agent. I followed up with her, and she said, you know what? Another agent said the same thing. And I go, well, there you go. I said, so you have two choices. One, you keep it and rent it, or you sell it. But here's the problem that happened with her. She refinanced the houses a few times. So her mortgage is pretty high on it. Now, she bought this thing for probably $280,000 when she bought it. Now, she should have had equity in there. Like if she sold it for $70,000, she would have a lot of equity. But because she refinanced it a couple of times, she's not going to come out with hardly any money on it, even though she already received the money on it. She already spent the money that she got on her equity. So that's what's stopping her from putting the house up for sale, because she's not going to get it. Like, so she's forgetting that point of it. Now, if she didn't refinance, she'd say, yeah, let's do it. Let's put this thing on the market and let's get it sold. And that's what happens a lot of the times. People feel like they're not getting enough out of the house. Well, they already got a lot out of the house, but they just want more out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's human nature, but it's, that's why you get a real estate agent who knows what they're doing, because a little common sense helps.
Yeah.
We're at a time when, people are watching interest rates go up, and they, as you talked about, taking a mortgage out, taking a second mortgage out, people running into problems, and maybe the houses get taken or whatever the case may be. Are we at a point where we're going to see a lot of foreclosures hitting the market soon, Rob?
I think in the high-end market, yes. What you see is don't believe. So when we see all these people buying these beautiful homes and you're thinking, oh, they must have a lot of money. Well, guess what? The true colors are going to come out now, because those people were able to afford a large mortgage on their house. But now with the interest rate change, they are getting in trouble. And so if your mortgage goes from, let's say, $10,000 to $18,000 or $15,000 a month, that's a lot of money. $10,000 is a lot of money from the beginning. But on the news not long ago, there was they were talking about millionaires in Toronto that are losing their houses because they had a $15,000 a month mortgage on their house, and they jumped up to $25,000 a month. And they basically can't keep up to the payments, and they have to walk away from the house. So that may happen on the higher end. And it's hard to tell. Now, the real test is going to be next year. Next year is when the bulk of the renewals are coming up from people that signed up the 5-year term from the low interest rates. So we don't know what's going to happen there, but the banks are working with the homeowners to make sure that they don't lose their house. So will they increase the amortization? So they've got 5 years into their mortgage. Will they increase it to so now let's say they only owe 20 years left. Maybe they might increase it to 30 years to keep their payments at a level, and then down the road when interest rates get better, they can readjust it again. People don't want to lose their house. People don't want to do. They got a lot of money invested in there. Will that change the pricing of homes next year? It's hard to tell what's going to happen. I don't think so. In Canada, we've got too many immigrants in this country that are looking to buy houses, and they come in with money. So as soon as they are able to buy a house, they're buying. And a lot of them usually pool their money together when they're buying their houses, and you get 6 families or 4 families in one house. They pay for it down fast, and then they go on to the next one. So and again, like I said before, these people, they don't buy consumer goods that are like flashy, like they don't buy the brand names like the Gucci's and the Louis Vuitton clothes. They buy bargain. If they buy Walmart clothes, they don't buy that stuff. So they can, and their saving process is good, because where they came from, they didn't have all those luxury items that we have in this country, and they weren't exposed to that.
Do you find that a lot of the lenders are more apt to be a little more flexible to keep people in their homes, or are the lenders in an economy like this going to say, sorry, you're not able to handle the payments, we're taking the house?
No, lenders want you to keep the house. They don't want that house. They don't want it. So they're going to work with you. They'll do everything in their power to have you keep that house for yourself. Now, lenders, if it's an insured mortgages, I mean, they can say, okay, no problem. We've got the insurance that the CMHC will pay us that if you forfeit on the mortgage. But they don't want that. They want to help you. The government doesn't want you to lose your house, and the banks don't want you to lose your house. They want you to stay where you are, and they're going to work with you. And I think it's not like it's going to be in the 90s. In the 90s, it was like they didn't discuss that as much. It was like different times, and people lost their houses, and they just lost it. Banks didn't say, hey, hang on, maybe we can help you out here. They just said, hey, sorry, you didn't pay your mortgage. We got to take it away from you. Sorry, here's your legal documents, and you go on. They're going to work with you now. They want to work with you.
And we want you to stay where you are too, which is listening to the radio. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Golfi Real Estate Show. Heading to Alberta right now, Rob.
Yeah, there is. And I know we've moved a lot of people from the Hamilton Niagara region that saying we're going to Calgary to move there. Housing prices are better. And you know what? It's the next best city that is affordable in that has business and everything else. Now, if you go to the East Coast, it's maybe not as business-wise as it is in Ontario, Alberta, or even BC. So those are kind of like the hubs where there's a lot of jobs available. Now, a lot of people are looking at moving to Alberta, even though the unemployment rate is a little higher than it is in Ontario. And also, people are moving there. Sometimes they're not even checking to see if they can get a job. They're just going. Say, hey, we're packing up and going out there and selling our house and everything else. But there is a huge exodus of people leaving in Ontario. And I got a feeling that's going to affect a little bit of the economy, especially in Toronto.
Well, the obvious thing is if too many people start going out there, then the deals aren't going to be had, right?
Absolutely, you're gonna see people fighting for real estate out there. Also, that just happened in Ontario, and but yeah, like I get it. Cost of living out there is a lot less. People are fed up with the cost of housing. The rent, even rent, is expensive now, and it's just. Like, it just seems like, this is my opinion, the government just doesn't seem to get it right all the time. Like 35, 40 years ago in the 70s, they introduced rent control, which I understand. They wanted to protect the tenant. But guess what? The developer said, okay, well, we're not going to build anymore. Well, over a course of 40 years, no apartment buildings were being built. Well, guess what? Now we're in trouble. Now, if they keep building and building and building, the rent will come down. That's how you do rent control. You have an abundance of rental units available. Guess what? Now the landlords are fighting for the tenants. They're going to give them options. They're going to make the rent cheaper. But now we're so far backlogged, so far behind, that it's going to take 20, 30 years, maybe more, to catch up. And that's where the government went wrong. And it just seems like sometimes I just don't get it how they made this happen. And now they're trying to fix it, but it's too late. We're being choked here now, and it's going to be like that for a while.
Outside of Alberta, where are people when they talk to you, when they're using you to sell their house and they're moving out of Ontario, where are they going other than Alberta?
The East Coast, a lot of people are moving to the East Coast. And especially if you have a job that you can work remotely, a lot of them are going out there. They love the pace. They love the people. And it's just people are looking at lifestyle more than work now. People are looking for balance in their life, and people are getting it. The new generation, it's more balanced, not like the baby boomer generation. Like the people. I think the people that are between the ages of 40 and 60, they're that generation are like grinders. They're workers. They just they're pushing, trying to get ahead. Now, but the younger millennials, they're thinking, hey, you know what? I want balance. I want to be able to, work what I have to do, and enjoy life, and which is, I think, is better. Like we got so tied up into working so many hours and trying to catch up and trying to get ahead in life. It's just that it's sucked up our life.
What about within Ontario? When we were talking during the pandemic and we were doing shows, you and I, there was a lot of movement from the city to Niagara, to Hamilton, to areas that were a little less congested. Is that still happening?
It is. Windsor is like kind of left field, and it's close to the Detroit border. And now they're bringing a lot of industry into the Windsor area, and that has boomed quite a bit. Like you were able to buy houses so cheap out there, like it wasn't funny, and they went up in price so fast. I know people from Hamilton, Niagara, even Niagara, we're even buying in Windsor and Toronto especially. So that market just blew up. And now with a lot of industry moving out that way, it's just going to continue growing and growing. So Windsor has been an area. Any area that we're housing was very inexpensive and close to the border. Blew up, just blew up. Like Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, Guelph area, that just blew up. Barrie, Ontario blew up. Like if you like you just drop like a rock in the water, and think of that as Toronto. Just all the surrounding areas just started blowing up. People started leaving Toronto, going to Niagara, especially, and Niagara is just going like crazy. I can't believe it. Like that Niagara Falls, especially, I'll tell you, the growth of that city is going to be like Milton in 10 years. And because there is a lot of land, especially in the south end of Niagara Falls where the hospital is going. And that's supposed to service Fort Erie well into Niagara Falls. And that entire area is going to just blow up. And like it's like Milton. Like 20 years ago, Milton was just a small little town, beautiful little town. Now it's just a metropolitan area. Like it's huge, and it's got it's got your little downtown area, and then it's got all these little other areas of plazas and everything else like that. And you're going to see Niagara Falls grow like that. Chippewa, I'm telling you, like I grew up in Niagara Falls, so I know, and I have a lot of friends that grew up in Chippewa. They were kind of like a little bit left field. Now that's an area that people want to be in, and that's growing like crazy. And I have friends that live there now. I go there and visit and my buddies and stuff like that. So it's it's crazy how all these outskirts areas are growing, and people are moving there. People are looking at it. They love the Niagara area, the wine. It's wine country. Got the falls, it's got so many things to offer, and when people visit there, they fall in love with it, and that's why they want to move there.
I want to bring up another form of housing that I don't know whether we've ever talked about on this show. If you remember movies back in the 40s and 50s, people who were looking for housing that they could afford, or were just getting into it, there was always, in a movie, there was always a boarding house. There was like Little Edna's boarding house, and there was always a little sweet old lady, and people would have one bedroom to live in, and they'd all have dinner at 6 o'clock and that kind of stuff. And then boarding houses just kind of vanished. Are they coming back? Is it an idea that might be helpful in this housing market?
I think it will be. I think the opportunity now is going to be great for anybody that applies and gets, let's say, a rooming house, because they're saying in Montreal, like they're so much in big demand. So, like in Niagara Falls, I checked. If you want to rent a room in a house, I couldn't believe how much it was, Tim. They're asking like $650 to $800 just to rent a bedroom that you would share the kitchen, probably share the living room.
Yep.
And you get a parking spot. Like you're paying $650 to $800 just for a bedroom in the house. That shows you the crisis that we're in. But the opportunity is out there. If you can get zoning or get the city to approve to opening up a rooming house, you will kill it in this business. You will kill it.
Is zoning different than regular residential or commercial zoning? What would the zoning have to be for a boarding house?
I don't know. Like I got to check into that, but I know there are boarding houses, rooming houses in all different areas, but every time they get sold, a lot of times they get converted back to a single family home. So we're losing them. And because they're not allowing any new ones, but they need new ones. So they were like, they call it legal non-conforming. So they were probably a boarding house, rooming house prior to 1980 or 1990. And because they were a rooming house back then, they're allowing it now, even though they won't allow new ones now. But they may have to do that now. And it's just like anything else. The opportunities back in the 80s, like everybody was duplexing houses, and they just, it was just something they did. And the city eventually said, okay, no more duplexing of houses, but if they're duplexed, you get to keep it. Anything new, you're going to have to apply and see if you qualify for the zoning. The same thing is going to happen now, because there's a shortage, people are duplexing their bungalows, 2-story houses, and they're allowing it. And eventually they're going to stop, because once we catch up to the housing crisis that we have, okay, they say enough duplexes. Those ones that did get the duplexes done prior, like let's say now, those properties are going to be worth more because of the fact that they have rental income for future down the road. So like this is a whole cycle that the government does. And so now the opportunity is, if you can open up a rooming house, if you get a house that has 10 bedrooms, rent each one out for $500 to $800 a month. Maybe you have 2 kitchens in there to support it. You can make some good money on these houses. I mean, you just got to make sure you got the parking and everything else for it. But they need them. They need them. You don't want these people on the street, living on the street, homeless. They can't afford an apartment. So they go into a rooming house or rent a bedroom in a house. And if you go,
we got to make sure that the housing, the rooming houses, the boarding houses, are affordable. Like you're talking about prices that I would have estimated were, small apartment prices, let alone rooming house prices. So you got to keep it affordable for people.
Oh, I know. Like you think they're like bachelor apartment prices. I get it. I know they're asking a lot of money, and but because there is such a demand, that's why they're so high. And and you know what? They have to open up more of it. They have to open up more, and the city's got to get into it. They got to start, maybe building some of these places so that we don't see tent cities in different communities everywhere, and give a place for these guys to afford to live and instead of on the streets. These guys are on the streets because they can't afford it. Sometimes they may have some mental illness and stuff like that, and they just can't keep a job, and they can't live on government assistance. It's not enough to pay for rent. So guess what? They're on the street. Now, if they had a rooming house to go to, I think they'd be fine. All these people, they're intelligent people that are homeless. They're all intelligent. They just ended up on the street, and it's too bad they are. But if you actually talk to each one of them, they all have a story, and their story is no different than yours and mine. Growing up in a decent family and having a decent job. It's just that they ended up having some bad luck along the way as an adult, and then now they're on the street. So they, it's too bad that the government, they have no problem giving money to, other countries to make them survive. But, it'd be nice if they could put some money back into our own country and keep things going better.
Are you seeing other unique ways? I mean, living with other people, communal living is one thing, and it's not for everybody. But are you seeing more and more people attempting to get into the housing market? Couples who are not necessarily married, like just friends, platonic, going in together on a mortgage. Are you seeing more and more of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're getting couples that say, hey, let's buy a house together. Let's see, if it's got a finished basement, one of us lives in the basement, one couple lives in the basement, the other couple lives upstairs, or they may even live in the whole house together at the same time. And, it may work for some people. It may not work. You really have to know. I mean, not only, you have a partner that you got to live with their little things that bother you, but now you got to live with another couple that may things that bother you. One cleans the sink, the other one doesn't. All those kind of things. It is, but people are doing that, and they need to do that in order to get ahead. A lot of buddies are getting together, buying a house. I know my kids, some of their friends, they bought a house together, lived there for 3-4 years. Now they sold, and they both went their separate ways, and now they each own a house separately on their own because they built equity. And sometimes that's the way you have to do it to get started. And it's just step by step to buy real estate.
Golfi Real Estate Show is on the air for this week. You can always catch the Golfi Real Estate Show here, or if you want to find previous episodes of the program, or maybe you missed part of the earlier segments here on this week's show, you can always go to wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Golfi Real Estate Show, and you will find it. When you're selling a house, it can be a big decision. It can be an emotional decision. But when you're selling, as Rob will tell you, and I'm sure you agree with this, Rob, sometimes, despite how emotional and attached and sentimentally attached, you gotta maybe check those feelings a little bit.
Yes, you have to. And sometimes it's hard because when you walk into a house, you have to be very gentle in how you say things, especially to the homeowner, because that is their pride and joy. That's their home. That is where they live. And sometimes, you may say, "Hey, listen, it's nice to, like, if they have, let's say, like, a lot of pets, and maybe they're not changing the cat litter box as often as they should." I would tell them, change the cat litter box, every day if you can, because people that don't have pets can smell it faster than other people can. Change the filter on the furnace quickly. Take pictures that are personal on the walls, because you don't want people focusing on outside things but the house. You want them focused on what you're selling, and make sure that's all they see, because if you have too many distractions in that house, it would distract them from even thinking about your house, and they're only going to remember the distractions. And I'll give you a perfect example. I went on an evaluation on the property, and large house, big house, beautiful, and I'm walking through the house, and there's these big portraits, like black and white, gorgeous pictures, and they're a picture of a nude woman, right? Like, very tastefully done, very professionally done. Something you see in a magazine, like not like a bad magazine, but and I'm like, they look good, but I couldn't really say, listen, you got to take these down. And just because there was probably about 4 of them, big ones in the house, different areas of the house, and I knew I would probably, upset the homeowner, and it's this guy's wife. Now, this guy, I'm not gonna say, like, a beautiful wife and everything, but people may not know this. This may be his wife, because they look like a model picture. Yeah. So something like that will distract people at looking at the house itself, and so that could hurt the sale. That could hurt it, because now all of a sudden you took the attention away from the house. Now you got these people walking through with their agent, and now the focus is on the maybe these 3-4 large black and white portraits on the wall, which they're beautiful, but they shouldn't be there, and because it's a distraction. There's so many things you can distract on putting your house up for sale, and you got to depersonalize it. Take it away, just listen to the realtor and listen to us and do it, because and the main goal is they want top dollar, but sometimes they won't want to do the things that you tell them to do to get that top dollar. And it's funny, like, they want one thing, but they not willing to do the other thing to get that one thing. So it's a tough situation. And it's like yourself, Tim, when you're walking through a house, you kind of look, if you see a wedding picture there, you're going to take a look at it, see if you know that person, right?
Yep. Yep. Oh, God, that's my ex. I'm not moving into this house. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. I can't. Now I know where she lives. Forget it. I'm not coming here.
I know what went on here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
One of the other problems that is coming up in the real estate industry right now, of course, everybody's trying to build new homes, and everybody wants to get stuff built now. The government wants to get stuff built now. But like any other industry right now, older workers are retiring, and there's a labor shortage even in the construction business. And while we're trying to get all of these new homes built quickly, that's an area that we've got to address too, because if there aren't people going into construction, if they don't have the workers to get the homes built, we're not getting them built.
Oh, absolutely. The aging population is one of the main causes of this labor shortage. And as older workers retire, there are fewer young people entering to the workforce to replace them. This creates a huge gap between the number of jobs openings and the available workforce. Like, we know it. Like, I'm going to tell you, getting a brick house in the next 10, 20 years from now is going to be a luxury that very few people will be able to afford to pay for, because not many people coming into this workforce want to be bricklayers, right? It's a tough job. You're lifting up bricks. It's cold, and it's a tough job. You're gonna see, just sided homes, like, vinyl sided homes, wood sided homes. You're going to see a lot of that, which is a little easier than it is, lifting bricks and blocks and all that kind of stuff. So there is going to be a major labor shortage. So not only do we have a crisis on a shortage of homes, but we have a crisis of shortage of labor, of people, building these homes, and developers and builders are experiencing that right now. They can't keep up to the pace because of the fact that they don't have the labor for it now. And I remember a few years ago, one builder was saying to me, he goes, "Rob, we opened up like to have a sale on this new development. Mm-hmm. We had to stop it because we couldn't build what we were selling. We had to stop the sale, like basically say, well, we're only selling 100 because we can't sell 300, 400 homes because we don't have the labor to build these homes. Otherwise, people are going to be upset because they're buying now. It's going to be 2-3 years before they can move in, and people don't want to wait that long. People are willing to wait on a new subdivision maybe 8 months to a year, but anything beyond that, it becomes tough. And people do that. They do wait on a condo complex, sometimes 3-4 years. But when it comes to a single family home or a townhouse, they don't want to wait that long. Maybe a year, it might go longer, but they don't want to wait that long. So this labor shortage is going to be a major problem for a long time with us. So we got all these different scenarios. This is the biggest mixed bag of stuff that's happening in our economy that we've not experienced before in the past. We had the pandemic, we had low interest rates, we got labor shortage, we got a crisis in housing shortage. We got so many things coming at us that we have no idea what we're going to end up with in the next year or two from now.
One of the most popular parts of this show on a regular basis is when you talk about mistakes people make, either buying or selling, from your experience. And folks, we're talking to an experienced real estate guy who has seen it all from the beginning to the end. So let's talk about some common mistakes that home sellers make when they're selling. And I guess one of the big mistakes, if I read this correctly, was that people make the mistake of saying, okay, we're going to show our home, but only at certain times.
Absolutely. Opening your home to potential buyers is a pain. I get it. I understand that. But it is to your advantage to make it as convenient as possible. The one thing I can't understand, and I don't understand why, people want to sell their house, but when you call them to say, hey, we have a showing that somebody wants to view your house at this time, oh, sorry, we can't do it that time. And then we do another time. Then we do another time. And they are always constantly rescheduling, saying no to whatever the times are. I don't get it. And then they come to us and ask us, Rob, why hasn't our house sold? And I'm like, what? I go, why hasn't your house sold? I go, out of the last 10 showings, you rejected 7 of them. I says, why do you tell me what? Now I answered your question. Why do you think your house hasn't sold? And they go, oh, but they just sometimes people are just, are tough to deal with, and they just make it complicated, and they just, it's hard to understand what goes on with them. And sometimes we have to, cancel our agreement. We just say, listen, I know you want to sell your house, but you don't want to sell your house. And when you're ready to sell 100%, if you're 100% in, I'm 100% in. And sometimes we just say, sorry, we have to, cancel, because it costs me money to put this house up for sale. Like, I'm spending thousands of dollars to get people into this house to look at it so that they can get the dollar that they want for their house. And meanwhile, they're rejecting it. So my investment, I'm putting my money on the line so hopefully I would get paid down the road to doing a good job for them. But if they're not allowing me to do it, then I'm losing money on this.
Do you get a lot of people who are, to mix my metaphors a little bit here, but you get a lot of people kicking the tires? I'm going to put my house up for sale. Not sure I want to sell it, but here, Rob, here's my house. This is how much I want for it. Go. And then when push comes to shove, well, maybe not.
Absolutely. All the time. And sometimes we just say, you know what, we're not the right, this is not the right fit for us. It's just, I had one time, this is a true story. I had a friend ask me, hey, Rob, I want to put my property up for sale for $5 million. I go, really? And I said, okay. I mean, we're pretty priced high. And I didn't, maybe one or two showings in a course of 6 months. Nothing. And then, so I didn't sell it, right, at the $5 million mark. I was the guinea pig. So then after, he has it, puts it up, 2-3 months after it expired on me for just under $4 million. Well, why are you going at that price with him? And then with me, I was the guinea pig. And then it ends up selling for $3.4 million. So there's a big gap between $3.4 million and $5 million. But I did it as a friend. And meanwhile, I was the guinea pig. I spent money on this, and I'll never do that again. If I have a friend that wants to put a $5 million house when it's only worth $3.5 million, I says, hey, call the other guy, use him as the guinea pig, and I'll come in second, and then I'll sell it for you at the price that it should be at. And, you get a lot of that. And it's tough. You don't want to say no to a friend, but I learned my lesson on that. I'd rather be disappointed and not get it than be disappointed for 6 months and then somebody else gets it and meanwhile you've been telling them the whole time you're overpriced. So I'm telling you, Tim, it happens a lot, and I'm not the only agent that would probably say this. They go through all this all the time, and we all go through it, and it's just part of our business.
Okay, you're talking about restricting showing times a minute ago.
Yeah.
As a guy who looks at this all the time, what's better when you're showing your house? Do you get out, or do you just stay in the house and go about your everyday living so it looks like a regular old house?
Get out of the house. Do not stay. Get out. Don't stay there because you don't want to follow the buyer around. I was one of those guys before I was a realtor. I wanted to be there. I wanted to, see what they were doing, touching and opening and everything. But don't do it. Just stay away, leave, go for a walk, go for a drive, go for dinner or whatever. Let the people in there. The longer they're in there, the higher the chance of you getting an offer for your house, because what they're doing is trying to get that feel that if it's the right house for them. But if you're lingering around, they're gonna leave fast, and they're not gonna get that feel. So leave the house, let the agent that's showing it do his job, and see if the client is interested in the house. Do not stick around. Do not be home for the showings.
Same thing for open houses.
Oh, absolutely, for open houses.
Get out.
Get out. Do not be there, because I'll tell you, you're hurting your sale. You're hurting your sale. Now, if it's a complicated house and somebody's very interested, then you get both agents, the agent on the buyer side, agent on the selling side, the listing side, and then you can get the buyers. Sometimes they may need to ask questions with each other because the house has got a lot of mechanical things that need to be done. There's a lot of these smart houses that you want to find out about, and sometimes the agents can't even explain it, so you have to get it explained by the homeowner, and the homeowner will explain it to the buyer. But yeah,
Alexa,
no, it's tough.
Alexa, unlock the front door and let these people out.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Rob, thanks, my friend. We will do this again, same time, same place next week. And if people have a question for you and they'd like an answer, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, just go to questions@golfiteam.com, or they can call us at 905-641-0308, or just look us up at robgolfi.com.
So for Rob and me, Tim Dennis, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time around on the Golfi Real Estate Show.